Auto sequence start in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Well, hello there. Welcome, my fellow fun-loving friends, to another installment of Canned Conversation. My name is Andrew, and with me, as always, my good friend Steven. Hello. Oh, there we go.
Oh, Lord have mercy. And that's how we begin today.
Too many buttons. Talk to me about the weather, my friend.
It's hot and it's cold. I don't know what to tell you. You know, I hunt, so I need some sort of consistency at some point in my life, and I'm not going to get it because it's been 75 and then 35 and then 75 and then 35. So there's your old man weather report for the day. Not happy with it, but it is what it is.
I wanted to actually bring up the weather just a bit because I have seen a lot of people with the varying weather patterns that we've been having, and it has been up to 60, sometimes bordering 70.
Yeah, we were at 74 the other day.
But I want to remind people, this is a PSA, okay?
Okay.
Winter does not start until December 21st, the winter solstice. We are technically in fall, people. So it is okay that we have a day of 70. Hunters, I get it. Probably don't like those 70 days with the ducks don't want to fly.
Yeah, it makes it tough. Yeah.
But I see a lot of posts on the socials. Yeah. They're like, where did winter go? It's lost. This is going to kick our butts come winter. It's winter, not yet. It's once winter hits, you're going to feel it.
Windy, warm, and dry. That explains what's happened this year in our hunting season, and it's not been pleasant. So
fall weather.
Yeah, no, fall weather is cool and crisp. I want a little bit of rain. I want a little bit of, a good, Arctic front to move through and it get down to in the 20s, but then come back up and be in the 30s and 40s.
Okay. Well, before we get too deep into this weather, because people will start to be bored, I do want to give out my fun fact, though, mentioning the winter solstice. So just before we'll get to the can here, I'm eager for it. But I always like to do this and say, my fun fact about the winter solstice and the summer solstice is this kind of goes against the grain of what people think. Would you think that the daylight hours get shorter during the winter or longer?
Daylight hours get shorter during the winter. Is that what you want me to answer? I feel like that's what you're begging for. They should get shorter.
They do not. So that is what goes against the popular mindset there. But if you think about it, the summer solstice is the longest day of the year. Occurs on mostly June 21st. So it gets
shorter after that?
The daylight hours start waning after June 21st or 22nd on some years. And then it gets shorter progressively until the shortest day of the year, which is December 21st.
Yep.
Most years, that's the winter solstice, sometimes the 22nd. And then it starts getting progressively longer. So
okay,
that, my friend, is your fun fact for today. There may be a few more scattered into this episode, but before we get too much further, let's dive into the can here. So while I get into the cooler and find this can amongst the deep ice, let us get some sage advice from our friend, the Joker.
If you're good at something, never do it for free.
Which is funny because I feel like we do this for free, which must mean we must not be very good at it. Or we are, and we're just on the precipice of contract just coming in. Lots of money rolling our way.
Oh, yeah. Just
tons of sponsorships knocking down the door.
Yeah.
If I just would check our Gmail account every once in a while, or you would. But okay. So let's get into this can because I'm ready. So as fall gets into winter, I like to start to partake of different types of beverages other than just beers and whatnot.
Yeah.
So some whiskeys come into play. They don't have just a straight up canned whiskey, but they have moonshine in a can. So this is Ole Smokey Tennessee Moonshine in a can, Blackberry Lemonade flavor. Okay. So this is a moonshine cocktail, and it's made with Ole Smokey moonshine. And Ole Smokey is in Tennessee. I've been to that distillery, visited that particular establishment a few times. It is fantastic. I recommend it highly. I know we're not sponsored by them,
but we should be.
We absolutely should. It is a huge establishment down in like the Gatlinburg area, and they have just walls of their moonshine flavored in all various.
I thought you were a salted caramel fan.
I do, and they make that. So, but that's in a bottle.
Yeah,
so
we can't have that here.
Yeah, their salted caramel whiskey is fantastic during the winter over some ice. But this is in a can, Ole Smokey Blackberry Lemonade. So I'm going to pop the top on this.
Absolutely.
And let's get started. So today I want to talk about neighbors. So let me
all right.
Let me ask you: do you like your neighbors? I hope if they listen, you have to structure your answer accordingly.
I do currently like all of my neighbors. I don't have any. I like almost all of my neighbors. Yes. I have good neighbors right now.
Okay. So for the most part, you like your neighbors.
Yep.
Okay. And what makes a good neighbor? Like, what are some of the qualities that you like about your neighbor?
I think it depends. I think there are good neighbors that are friendly and want to like hang out. And I hear of, and I've seen really cool neighborhoods where everybody's kind of the same age and they all hang out together. And I think those would make really cool neighbors that you can like go, oh, let's just go sit on the back porch and, on a Tuesday because they're right next door. They just come over and hang out. In our neighborhood, it's more, they're friendly, but they're non-intrusive. Like they're not coming over and asking for sugar or like, they're, like, you know what I mean? Like they're very nice people. We've met them all.
Excellent.
We have a neighbor that's across the street who's a nurse, and she's just the nicest, sweetest woman on earth, and has helped other elderly people on our street, and like has stayed with them and worked, like helped them through kind of their last few days on earth, which was
wow.
Like, so we have very good, kind people on our street. Love it. Not anybody that we just hang out with on a Tuesday, but nice people.
Okay.
I don't have any problems with them. How about you?
My neighbor's also very non-intrusive. We mostly stay around to ourselves, but say hello, wave to each other, but are very cordial, very nice. And I agree that now you didn't point out any specific attributes, but I would say what I gathered from what you said was they care about each other.
Yeah.
They kind of look after each other.
Yeah, they're going to look after your house. Like they're going to be like, hey, we saw somebody in your yard or somebody in your driveway, or like, yeah, we all do that, which is great. That's
looking
all I
out
need.
for each other, being nice, trying not to mess up things for everybody.
Yeah. Nobody's like letting their grass grow to where you should bale it with a baler or anything crazy, right? Like nobody's doing crazy stuff.
All right. So before I get into sort of the main topic, I want to have a fun story here because I want you to tell me about your worst neighbor. And I know your worst neighbor, and this is a great story. I actually I went on the interwebs and I tried to go into the archives and find the news article on your old neighbor at your old house. I could not find it. I think it said, you're going to have to go into the microfiche.
You go get some film, microfiche film?
Down at like the main library and in the basement, maybe. And I didn't have time to do that. So I'm going to have to rely on your retelling.
So you have a part of this story, right? Because there's a part of this story that you were intricately involved in that makes me laugh every time. But so we moved in, we bought our first house, pretty, middle, low class neighborhood. Not, just normal first house stuff,
suburban.
Right? Like it's suburban, normal neighborhood. Nobody on that street was super rich. We were just all kind of, buying first houses, or people who were
family starter.
Yeah. It's all, and we loved that house because, it was, 1-story ranch, unfinished basement, giant backyard. We had dogs. We had, it was great. It was a great backyard, but your neighbors are on top of you. We had a big yard, but back in those kind of neighborhoods, everybody has like chain link fences. So we had chain link on two sides of us, but one side had this giant 6-foot wood fence.
Yeah, privacy.
Which
privacy
is,
fence.
I don't mind it. I've got one now. I'm like, I kind of like to not have to look at stuff, right? So,
right.
So we did have a neighbor that was on the other side of that 6-foot privacy fence. And you know, you don't see a lot of what happens. You could just hear it because the fence.
Right.
So we didn't see a lot of, all we saw was their roof, right? Like when you look from our yard to over to their side, is all you could see was the top of their house. And the top of their house always had toys on it, like kids stuff.
Right.
And I think this is kind of where you were going with this is, we never really understood for a long time what was going on. We found weird stuff in our yard all the time. They had kids, and like the kids would throw stuff into our yard. We found some steak knives for a while. The kids had steak knives out in the yard. They would throw steak knives into our yard, and we're like, oh, look, we're going to get a whole set of these by the time the week's over. But they would like throw like scooters and like baseball bats. And
Right.
there's like a lot of toys on their roof. And we found out later that was their way of punishing their kids. They would take away their toys and throw them up onto the roof so they couldn't have them or play with them. That was their like, whatever. That wasn't really the bad part, because the bad part becomes, we didn't hear a lot from them. There's so many stories with these neighbors. I mean, like I'm
What I want to get you
Where do
to
you want me to go with this
is the punchline.
which is the
What
animals.
made the news?
So
How did you find out you had? I mean, you
So
on a
we
bad
had-
neighbor scale, you were probably like, okay, they got stuff on their roof.
Yeah.
Some
So-
people live outside every once in a while in tents and
Grandma
run cable
they
back
moved
there.
Grandma outside with her probably 25-year-old boyfriend, and they kicked her out, moved her into the tent, and they ran cable out there. That was kind of crazy. But
So
then
they were hovering at like a 2 for you on the scale of 5.
They were pretty crazy to begin with, and then we had a broadcast news people show up at our house and film live from our driveway, focused in on their house because they couldn't be on their property or something. I don't know, whatever the weirdness was. But come to find out, the little boy had ran away and was hiding underneath a neighbor's deck. And when they found, of course, somebody found him under their deck, and they're like, "Hey, what's wrong?" And they're like, "Well, my parents." Yeah, bad news. My parents aren't great. They called the cops. The cops came and got him, took him home. And
Not good.
the cops knocked on the door. The people answered, and this aroma, a pungent odor of cat piss, or cat urine, sorry, whatever you call it. Yeah, it was horrible. Whatever the ammonia that came out of the house when they opened the door, the cops were like, immediately shut this place down, everybody out. And they found 39 cats, 3 dogs, 2 ferrets, something else, like another animal. She may have had lizards. I don't know. But there was 50 some odd cats in that. Cats, dogs, animals in that establishment. We only knew that they had 2 dogs. We were sure they had 2 dogs. One of them's name was Harley.
Right.
And the other one, I don't remember what the other one was, but there's a Harley story behind that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they had to condemn the house. They took the kids away for neglect and abuse and all kinds of really, really bad crap going on in that house. And come to find out, they never opened their windows, and they ran their air conditioner all year round because it filtered air. And so we never knew, like, people are like, how did you not know that these people had like 50 animals in the house next door? I'm like, they never opened their window. That smell never got out of that house, which tells you it's going to be real bad in that house. So long story
And they
short,
were probably in 1,000 square feet main level.
yeah,
right?
I mean, it wasn't any different than ours. It was 1,200 square feet, right? It's just a 1-story ranch. And theirs may have been a little smaller because we had an extra little
maybe
room.
3-bedroom.
Yeah, 2 or 3 bedrooms.
2 or 3 bedroom, and
bath
all
and
of
a
the
half.
parent, right? And I don't want to.
It was 3 adults, 2 kids, and 50 animals.
Yeah, all living in the same quarters with no way for the animals to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, none of them went out.
Right.
None of them
And
were
this
out.
was
There
all
was 2 dogs that were
happening
outside
inside the
dogs.
house.
Yes, and so but the guy who bought it, not to promote anybody, but it was we don't buy really nice houses. We buy the ugly crap. They had to completely gut it. Past studs, they had to replace studs. They had to bleach the concrete in the basement.
They cut out the subfloor, right?
The whole floor was
of the
gone,
whole
yeah.
entire main
everything.
level. They cut out all of
It had
and had to
so much urine damage. They couldn't get the smell out of. They couldn't get the smell of the concrete, so they had to bleach the concrete and have a special treatment on the concrete in the basement. So all the wood had to go, but the concrete was so badly stained they had to fix that too. I'm like, just burn it down, cover it in with dirt. Like it's Chernobyl at this point. Like
Let's burn it, rebuild.
So it got condemned, then it got bought, and then it got completely done. And the guy who moved in had no idea any of it happened. And he's like, I can't believe I got this house so cheap. And we're like, come sit next to our television. We popped in a VCR tape and like, this is your house, dude. And he's like, whoa, that's bad. I'm like, yeah. So anyway, that was a bad neighbor. You ain't kidding.
Yes.
It was they were a hot mess before we knew they were abusive to their children, and they had 50 cats and dogs.
Right. It was quite a sight. We'd come over and visit, and all the stuff on the roof, and we'd hear the yelling here and there, and then see the tent out back, and it was quite an amazing thing to then climax with that story, because it was like, it wasn't surprising, but it was surprising that, like you said, how do you not know about it? And man, those poor kids were living in that situation, and had we known, we would have done something.
Oh yeah,
to try to stop that a year or so, or however long that was going on. Ooh.
Yeah, bad.
But I was reminded when I was thinking of today's topic about your neighbor, so I'm like, this has to be in here.
Okay.
What I'm going to transition to,
I was going to say, how are you going to transition away from that?
So what I'm going to transition to is we're entering the holiday season, and it's decoration time.
Yeah.
So you have neighbors that are putting up Christmas lights, various Nisandre out in the yard. And I also happened to watch this documentary on Apple TV Plus, and it's called "'Twas the Fight Before Christmas." And so if you put all of this together, I'm going to give you the 2-minute synopsis, hopefully fast fire, on this movie, and then I kind of want to get your thoughts.
Okay.
So this lawyer and his wife live in Idaho, and they had a small house, and he apparently loves Christmas and wanted to have a gigantic Christmas display and event where that people could come to. His house was too small, so he buys a new house in a subdivision.
As one does.
He bought this house pretty much solely for the purpose of his Christmas display, because he made sure that it was outside of like the city limits, where the city proper didn't have authority over him. And he then started in September with decorating his house. And when I say decorating, Clark Griswold style, it is that. No square inch of his house does not have lights on it. Completely covered. All of his yard is completely covered in nothing but Christmas garb and decoration. To add to that, he then goes on to his socials and promotes what he calls Christmas celebration, inviting anyone and everyone
to come drive by that nonsense.
To not only drive by, but to stop. He will get out, and he puts on this whole show and has a Santa there and gives out free, I believe, hot chocolate and like candy canes or some other type of food. And so at its height, like 1,000 people on a night show up in party buses. Like they show on this
from
thing
September on.
Well, that's when he started. I wanted to kind of lay the groundwork of how much decoration went into this. No, it's like after December 5th or something, he starts having the actual holiday.
He's got a parade every night going to his house.
At least on the weekends, it's the full shebang, and then anyone that's like any other people that want to drive by, obviously.
Lord have mercy.
But at its height, his neighbors, they were concerned.
Yeah, rightfully so.
So what would you, if you had someone that moved into your street and did that sort of preparation for Christmas and then held that type of event, what are your thoughts?
So, man, I would not like it, for one. And I would try not to be that neighbor. But
you're a Grinch. No.
Absolutely. No, 100% I am. It's okay. Maybe we'll talk about that sometime soon too. But for one, I get ticked off when somebody parks in the street in front of my house, and it makes it hard for me to back my big old truck up and have to leave my, like I can't imagine if there was 1,000 people streaming down my street in the evenings and I got to figure out how to get, like, it created some sort of crazy traffic jam. Oh, I'd be pissed. So with that said, I also think most people have like homeowners associations or some sort of city policies that I would probably go, hey, listen, I'm not that guy who's going to go turn you into the HOA or city policies, but you got to figure out something that does not, your freedoms cannot impact mine. Right now, your quality, it's impacting my quality of life. And you're free to celebrate however you want to until it impacts me. And then I'm like, I'm out. So I would not be a happy camper.
I completely agree with you. His philosophy was, this is America. We're free to do this, to celebrate how we want. And to that point, I think where you were going and said something similar to what I am is, yes, you're free to celebrate unless it's impeding on my freedoms, right? We don't have absolute freedom. And we've talked about this with other things, in terms of freedom to make decisions. You can't just run stop signs because you feel like you're free to do that. There are rules and regulations you have to follow, and they're mostly in place in order to make sure that you're not stepping on other people's freedoms.
Yep.
And the problem that these neighbors were having were all of what you mentioned tenfold. They couldn't get to their own house.
Yeah,
if they were coming home, they had just real concerns about, because of all that. 1,000 people show up. That's spilling over. That's not, my yard can't. My yard's probably about the same front yard size as his. There's no way it can hold 1,000 people. Right. So it's spilling into your yard. There are security concerns with all of these people being on properties.
Yeah.
And he doesn't know. He doesn't know these people. He just put it on Facebook and whatever other social and said, invite, come see this crazy spectacle that I'm willing to have.
Like a business.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would originally I would say, I just want you to understand that if this is how you're going to run Christmas, just know 4th of July is going to get real ugly because there's going to be a lot of stuff pointed at your house. Right? I have the freedom to celebrate 4th of July however I want to, and just know it's going to be 1,000 Roman candles pointed at your house every night.
You're right. You take Christmas, I'll take 4th of July. Which is an actual celebration of freedom, baby.
Right, because I am patriotic.
Yes.
Right. It's going to be red, white, and blue all over you.
I'm just going to step back and let this happen.
Yeah. So.
Like a lot of
done.
Those. So they have an HOA, and the HOA got together. They sent him a letter. They approached him, and like the person that I think his personality type is that of, if you come after me and even try to impede on my freedom here, I'm going to come back at you to a degree that you're not even know that is possible. And he's a lawyer. So,
good.
So he took that tact of, he immediately started tape recording all their conversations, every phone call, every interaction on the street. He started videotaping and taking pictures of all the neighbors and all their, what he considered infringements of the HOA rules. Cause they sent him a letter and said, hey, here are some rules.
Yeah.
And he said, oh, well, this old lady over here, she's walking 3 dogs. And in our HOA guidelines, it says you can only walk 2. It got to that level. He sued the HOA for religious discrimination, is what he put it under, right? And went to court, cost him and the HOA and the people, which ultimately is the people in the subdivision,
right,
hundreds of thousands of dollars in litigation over a Christmas celebration in the neighborhood.
What is wrong with people?
I don't know, but I just really thankful, and knock on wood, something that that he doesn't move to my neighborhood. You know?
If that was my neighbor, seriously, I really, it would be 4th of July. Everyone I know would be coming over for 4th of July, and we would
raining
probably
down,
starting in May, right? Like we'd just do 4th of July from May 5th on, like Cinco de Mayo to 4th of July. It's an Independence Day celebration.
Some fun things that came out of it. My favorite was one of the neighbors described his house as offensive to the senses. Because
I'm sure
it was so loud. And they have to get, because it's so bright, it comes in all their windows and stuff. So
I'm sure. Yeah, it's probably worse than having somebody just park with high beams on him.
right in your driveway.
Right.
And then one of my favorite quotes from this guy was, "This is not an event. You don't get permits for miracles," because they were like, "Hey, do you have a permit for this?" He's like, you don't need to get permits for miracles.
What in the hell?
So, what would your advice be? Let's kind of wrap up this particular documentary and this person and our thoughts on him. If you had to give him advice and hopefully he would listen, what would that be?
If you don't want neighbors, so what I like to do is extend out people's arguments to a point where they go, oh, that's right, I'm kind of crazy. So guess what? You now have a Muslim neighbor, a Hindu neighbor. What if they did the same thing? Would you be as supportive of them as you're asking everyone in this neighborhood to be as supportive of you? Or what if I want to shoot off bottle rockets at your window for 4th of July at 3 a.m. because I know you're a lawyer and you have to get up for court? What if I do that every Wednesday, every night of the week, and I don't celebrate at all on the weekends because I know you're off? Like, how free do you think this country is? That you can do whatever you want that impacts all kinds of people and never take extend your argument out to a point where you now are offended by somebody else's actions, and that's where people are with you, right? Like, yeah. And if you can't see that as a lawyer, and I get you love to argue because you're a lawyer, that's your gig, is to take a side and dig your heels in and make it work, but you got to extend that argument out to go, okay, you really can't be this dumb that you think your rights over and above exceed somebody else's rights, and that you wouldn't be just as ticked off as all of your neighbors are if someone did this to you.
Yeah. So his philosophy of the good of the one outweighs the good of the many is,
and it's a miracle. All of that's flawed, right? Like that whole argument's flawed, but keep going.
Sure. Well, and the fact that, so my advice to him would be going back to your original of what makes good neighbors, right? If you want to be a good neighbor, do you want to be a good neighbor? I mean, if you have this much Christmas spirit and it's this important to you, it would seem the Christmas spirit is being a good neighbor. Care for one another. Yep. Listen to one another. Do unto your neighbor is what you would want them to do to you, which is exactly what you said, right? So my advice for this gentleman would be move to a farmhouse on a country road where there's no one else around. There's no HOA. There are no bylaws that you have to, adhere to. Put up this monstrosity. Account for parking, maybe on a field that you own, right?
Sure.
But take that measure in order to do what you want to do. You're going to have to make a little sacrifice here in order to get what you want. But you can't impose what you want that offsets or makes it horrible for 2 months out of the year for everyone around you.
Right. Every attribute.
Just be a good human.
Right. Every attribute that you think represents Christmas, and then ask yourself, are you any of those? Right? Like are you caring about other people? Are you giving the gift of kindness? You're doing none of that.
Right. You're going against, and it's cost everyone so much money, this thing. Yeah. And it's still going on.
Yeah, like you're bankrupting an HOA, right? Like people, there's yards that aren't going to get mowed, or common area that's not going to get mowed. There's all kinds of stuff that's not going to happen. So I have no sympathy for that man.
All right.
There you go.
I do not either. And I think we've really done some good work here to let people know how to be good neighbors.
Is that where's that at? What state?
That's in Idaho.
Oh, good.
Home of the potato. So just real quick, I did want to give a fun fact about Christmas displays and lighting. Do you know who created the first electric light Christmas display?
Nikola Tesla.
Oh, but very close. It is Thomas Edison, his arch nemesis, right? Who some say stole a lot from Tesla. In 1880, he put up the first Christmas display made from electric lights to advertise his light bulbs. So that was in 1880. And then little known other fact, around March or April of 1881, he finally took them down.
Oh, God. So he's that guy?
He was the original. No, I don't know if he did that or not. I just thought it would be humorous to say the original person that put up decorations was the one that left them up until Easter.
Yeah. That's when you're supposed to take them down, right?
Yeah, I think it's Christmas.
Yeah, Thanksgiving to Easter.
Birth to resurrection.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Celebrate it.
Yeah, it's the whole life cycle.
All right. So, but right before we rate this can, what I want to do is we have to raise a toast here because this week is your wife's birthday.
It is.
So I wanted to say happy birthday, and Here's a toast. Let's raise our can that she may continue to survive the perilous 67,000 miles per hour trips around the sun that she has done so far, and may she also survive your many surveys while doing so.
Cheers to that.
Happy birthday, Stephen's wife. All right.
She is a saint of a person for so many reasons.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm digging this Old Smoky. I'm not going to lie here. This is really good. I'm not a fan of straight lemonade, like without a flavor usually. Even in the summertime, it's okay, but it's kind of tart sometimes. But this Blackberry Lemonade with moonshine in it, it's 2 words. It's fantastic. I will buy this again if I see it around. I'm probably going to look for a couple other flavors that they have. Honestly, most of what I've tasted from Old Smoky has been...
They do a pretty good job.
Very good. I've been looking for their... I think it's called Spiked Nog.
Oh, I'd be into some spiked nog.
Yeah, and we've had that out of those mason jars.
Yeah,
remember?
but we need it in a can for this
I know, but I meant just for life. Like, I know I drink a lot out of a can, but I will drink out of a mason jar to have that. We found it a couple years back, and I haven't seen it again, but it is so delicious.
I could do some nog.
So, and it doesn't taste like eggnog, which is the thing. It's like it's not overpowering eggnog flavor. But getting back to this, I'm going to give it a 4, and I'm going to buy some more again. I won't really push this on other people. I go, oh my gosh, you have to try this. This is the best thing I've ever had. But I'm definitely going to be having more of these.
So we did you mention it's 9% alcohol, 18 proof? It's carbonated liqueur. Did you mention any of that up front?
No. Is it? Sometimes we mention the alcohol content.
It's important.
Is it?
I don't know. There's people who want to drink this stuff.
Sure.
They might go, ooh, that's too strong for me.
Okay. I mean, I get that. What? So you said 9. Usually when I start to say things are too strong for drinking, multiple, it's 9 and 10 or above. 10, once you get to double digits, it's hard to drink.
So double digits is, if you drink more than 3, you probably need to lay down.
Yeah, the clear water, the cut waters that we've had that have been in the high teens or mid to high teens, those will put you on your butt.
I had a White Russian the other day. Good Lord, have mercy.
Yeah.
So good. It's like candy.
It is. I finished last Saturday night on 2 of those. And
man.
And
that's a good nightcap. Nice work.
It was probably should have started with it.
Right. Yeah. Anyway, they could be a start and a finish depending if you drink too quickly. So you gave this a 4?
4.
Man, I'm torn. I'm going to go back to the episode where we had Sess on and he was like, why don't you guys do half stars? Because it's good. I'm going to go with 3. I don't think I would seek it out necessarily, but
Give a little bit of applause to a 3.
Yeah, it's good. It's there's a little bit of a. It's not like an aftertaste, like a moonshiny taste to it or something. Like I would consider like a whiskey has an aftertaste, and I'm not the cocktail guy. I'm the beer guy.
Right.
You're the cocktail person. So
okay. So
I
it's
think
pretty
a 3
good.
is good.
Yeah, for not being let's say a beer.
That Bloody Mary we had was a hard 3, and it's a stretch because I'm more of a cocktail person than I'm a Bloody Mary person. So this is a good 3. This is a good. I drink a few of these.
All right.
I could. Yeah.
Well, we're going to continue to drink this one as we continue. So tell me what we're going to continue with.
Yeah.
Hit me with your best shot.
So I have
Pat Benatar said that. Keep going.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to throw you off.
I thought we were going to start singing again. So I have a couple things, a little bit of a shout out, a couple things. One is I had a nephew. I'm small town. My sister and her family still live in that small town. And they had a absolutely phenomenal football year. My brother-in-law happens to be the football coach.
Nice.
Yeah, right. My nephew is a lineman. His senior year, the last couple of years have been just a jacked up mess, right? Just school sports have been messed up. School dances have been messed up. Going to school has been messed up. My daughter has gone through some of that same stuff of virtual school versus going to school with masks and not having any dances and all that kind of stuff. But this year for him, it all kind of came together, and they're not, they went as far this year as that school has, as my hometown's ever gone in football. Their
And
class.
how far-ish were you?
They made it to the semifinals of state.
Oh, excellent.
So they played, and this is why I bring it up. They played at a school named St. Mary.
St. Mary's?
Yeah, do you know of St. Mary's?
That's my alma mater.
Yeah, that's why I brought it up. It's because St. Mary's actually has a 5-star recruit and a whole bunch of 3- and 4-star recruits, and they were ridiculous.
Yeah. Do you know what St. Mary's ended up doing?
Recruiting?
No, I mean for the year.
Go ahead. Oh yeah, they won state.
Do you know what the score was?
Yeah, 56-0. So they beat my hometown.
What was that score? Better than 60-0?
Yeah, it was like 52-16.
Oh, jeez.
I kid you not. So 14 would be you scored 2 touchdowns and kicked 2 extra points, right? They actually scored 2 touchdowns, and both extra points they tried to kick were bobbled, and then they scored the 2-point conversion on accident both times.
Nice.
Freaking phenomenal.
That's awesome.
So it was a really painful game to watch against St. Mary's. And I've not seen athletes like that perform at a high school level. There's a couple guys on there that they're obviously going, I mean, one of them's making a choice between Alabama and Georgia. In Miami. That's the wide receiver they have. They're just phenomenal athletes. I get all that. Bulldogs played a crazy great season.
Nice.
And it was so good to see. Like,
that's awesome.
I could not want that more for a kid in his senior year to actually go, we got to go back to school. We got to go actually play sports, and we had a phenomenal team. It was awesome. So shout out to Deke and Steve for crushing a football season.
Yeah, shout out to the Bulldogs.
So nice
Way
work.
to go, Deke. Way to go, Steve. Sorry, St. Mary's got in your way.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. And there wasn't, I mean, it would have been interesting to watch Bulldogs play St. Pius or whoever it was from Kansas City that St. Mary's absolutely trounced. Like literally beat the snot out of. And yeah, what do you do? Anyway, St. Mary's shouldn't be in that division, but that's not the point. I thought it was interesting because I took a picture and I forgot to. I think I even forgot to send it to you. I took a picture in front of St. Mary's school the other day.
Oh, nice.
When I went to the game, and I'm like, oh, Drew would love this.
Yeah, you did not send it to me.
I did not. Sorry, but I took it and I have it on my phone.
It's the thought that counts.
Second one is I went out and was at a random bar in middle of Illinois, and we had the opportunity. My brother-in-law and sister-in-law were like, we're taking everybody out for drinks. And so it's a weird experience that I had, which was we went to a bar and they go, what do you have? And I'm like, well, what do you got on tap? They had Big Muddy blueberry ale on tap. Right? The day that that episode aired, I was at a bar drinking it. And I'm like, I have got to tell Andrew about this. This is awesome. So yeah, so I had it on tap and I'm like, you guys should get this. This was a good beer. Like, so anyway, so we're finally starting to get enough beers in us to where we, that we can go almost anywhere and find a beer on tap. I thought that was kind of fun. So, the other thing I think you forgot to call out was you also had somebody in your household have a milestone. You had a daughter that had a birthday.
I did. It was milestone in that she was 14.
Yes.
But I guess it was more so that we kind of had to skip the 13, which is when you get into the official teen years. Yep. So we celebrated to a higher level this year.
You celebrated to a higher level this year. For sure.
Yeah.
So anyway, so shout out to your daughter. She threw a good party. It was fun.
Oh yeah, excellent. It was a Renaissance fair.
Oh my God, it was crazy. I didn't have clear expectations walking in. I was just told I needed to dress up, and I wasn't. Then I walked in, and there's that, and I'm like, oh, we're doing there's a theme. There's stuff going.
Yes, our friends actually dressed up in some not really period garb, but it was just more of a ball type scenario, and they had some of the ball masks and ball wear, and then a lot of the various food elements and other things were all wrapped up into that theme. So it was really the first, I think, birthday celebration we've been able to have that felt a little bit more normal. I mean, and we're not back to normal. Probably won't be for quite a long time with Omicron of the Transformer.
But it was cool.
Legion.
I mean, like to me, that's the young adult phase that she's in of going, I can help design and want to be a part of like having a more adult themed.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was crazy. So shout out to your child. She did a good job. Nice work.
Youngest.
So woohoo. Yeah. Well, youngest being 14. Mine's 18. So she goes off to college next year. Shout out to that.
We're doing a lot of woohoos.
Yeah. So anyway,
in this episode,
my thoughts.
Wearing out that button.
So you're gonna have to work with me on this topic and like a little bit.
All right,
but
bring it. I got my pencil and I got my paper.
All right, perfect. So we've talked a little bit about attributes and that kind of stuff, like that guy who has all the Christmas decorations.
The lawyer.
What attributes of Christmas do you think you should personify? And none of these are what you're doing. But something we talked about the other day spurred a rabbit hole that my mind has gone down now for a couple weeks. And so we talked a little bit about politics and that kind of stuff. But when I say words, I want you to tell me what percent. So think of it as this is a kind of a survey, if you will.
All right. Family Feud style. Yep. Survey says
what percent, and there's no right answer to this, so just don't think that there's going to be a ding. You're not going to get points because it's perception.
This is terrible.
What percent?
I need points.
I know. Well, I'll ding and give you points if I think you're right, but you won't be. What percent do you think you look at somebody and go, I can tell by their looks, or it's by their actions that you actually care about? You with me?
Yeah.
So if I give you a word like confidence, somebody who what percent do you think somebody looks confident, or what do you look more at actions of confidence?
I would say probably 60-40 actions to looks. I think a person can very much look confident in their facial expression and demeanor. Mm-hmm. How they present in terms of their body language. It's not like, I'm not talking about like what they're wearing or any of that type of, because anybody can kind of fake it till they make it, right? Like of, having Rolex watches or suits or something.
Yeah, just a nice designer suit, well put together people.
Anybody can buy the look. But really, I think it's hard to fake body language. And then in terms of actions, if someone looks you in the eye to talk to you. If when they are speaking, they make a point, and then don't beat around the bush. Let's say and go right to maybe what they want in terms of what they want to get from a conversation. I would say 60-40.
Okay, so 60 actions, 40 looks.
Yeah,
gotcha. All right, if I say so again, work with me. Okay. Sexy.
That one's tough because I think that changes early on. I mean, you can see a person, right, walk by, and you're like, if you're sitting out at a restaurant, let's say, and somebody walks by, you can look at a person, and it's going to be, if you think, oh man, that person's sexy, that's 99%, or maybe 95%. Because maybe the way they're walking is also kind of sexy, which is action, right? They're not like fumbling around but that's going to be really high on the look scale when you haven't had any interaction with that person. Okay. And that is so surface, right?
Yep. Because there's a lot of people who look sexy who...
Right, terrible people.
And you go, that your personality makes you ugly as all get out.
Yes. And I've had this conversation with my wife on a number of occasions where a person, just like you said, I'll go, that person is in no way attractive. I use the word attractive instead of sexy because I get attracted to either a personality or the actions that person's doing, right? Because once you start to get to know them, I think you get attracted to a personality or attracted to the traits of that person. But
yes.
So I would say right in the beginning, 95% look, 5% action. once you start to talk with them, get to know them a little bit, then it really, for me, switches a lot. So I'd probably say 30% look, 70% action. I mean, it weighs pretty hard because if you can't form a sentence, or if you're just, if you are petty, you start to say things that are like just real insensitive, or like, why would, are very demeaning to other people. Like, or if I see that you are terrible to like customer service representatives,
right? You're a horrible person.
Right? I'm like, I'm turned off. I'm like, and I become very less attracted.
Gotcha. And I use the word sexy on purpose. But I also toyed with the word attractive in that, because I think so. All right. So last one, so before, and we'll go down this other path, but real quickly, but, last one is love. Love, an action or like a verb? I'm sorry, an action. An action. So when you look at something and you go, "Oh, I love that."
Okay.
Versus like, so
a person or a thing?
I'm going to leave it up to you.
Well, I thought we were talking about people this whole time. Because
so I started this thought process with noun or verb, but that doesn't always work on everything.
All right. So
but maybe this one it does.
So is it action versus look in terms of love?
Do you feel like you love things because of, this is so hard to explain. It makes sense in my head. I promise you. No. I guess my point being is,
like, if there's a car and I say, I love that car, is it because I love the way it looks, or maybe love the way it performs?
Performs, yes. That's it.
Okay. So there might be a car that doesn't look very good just because it maybe hasn't been taken care of and it's rusty a little bit. But underneath that hood, or
it'll fly
in the
like
interior, and the interior is all pristine, and the engine's great and it hums, and it so for me, is this again, so I think that this applies to maybe most things then for me, is that there's probably an initial reaction. I see a car, I like cars. I love vehicles, right? And all different kinds, to sports cars, to utility vehicles, the new electric stuff, with Teslas. So like, I love Tesla, right? I think that it is awesome, really more so because of all of the brains behind what's going on in Tesla. I see a Tesla and I'm like, the outer appearance to me is like, it's okay. It's a sleek looking coupe. It's nothing to write home about. I don't get overly dramatic about how it looks, but when I start to hear about all of the thought process that they put into the technology that they do, all the various the things that you can do with a Tesla, I won't get into all of that, but if you look up like Tesla and see what all of the ways you can put it into, like the modes that you can use, and all the fun stuff that they do. And the fact that it is helping, it's environmentally nice.
They say that, but they're mining nickel out of all kinds of places to make these batteries.
Oh, the batteries. It takes a while to recoup on those batteries. But I think the long play on that is probably a little bit better than fossil fuel. But for me, Tesla, for that car, I'm going to say, it's 10% look, 90% what it can do.
Design.
Yeah.
I mean, like, because it's really about all the stuff they've put in it. Like the fact that the car can fart when you, I saw one the other day and the guy pulled up and he farted at me. He's like, "Hey, did you think that was funny?" And I'm like, he goes, "My kid thinks that's hysterical." I'm like, "Did your car literally just fart at me?" And he's like, "Yeah, every time we put it in park, it farts. My daughter thinks it's hysterical." And I'm like,
and you can put it into light speed mode, and your dash TV turns into what looks like Star Wars.
Right. You can talk to other Teslas, right? You can honk your horn. It makes their horn honk.
Right.
Like all kinds of crazy
party
stuff.
mode.
Yeah.
All very fun. Very fun.
Very thoughtful experience-wise, right? Like great design. I know we're way off on a tangent on Teslas, but I'm 100%.
But I think it comes back to maybe what you're talking about, I hope.
So I don't know. So here's what I'm talking about.
Because if it's about people, that's a little different.
It is.
But in ways, it's the same. It's what's under the hood.
What's under the hood.
that really is what matters in the end. Because I mean, love is about so much deeper than what you look like. I mean,
so here's what I feel like I came to the conclusion is that a lot of people are judged on what's on the outside. A lot.
Sure.
And a lot of people believe that is both it's sexy, love and confident. Those three specifically seem to be like a trend in Instagram, wherever, like TikTok, wherever you want to be, or in marriages. You mentioned my wife has a birthday this week, which is awesome. She's had a rough year this year, but I think all marriages deal with some of that too, and that trying to find, like where you lack confidence or where you lack your outward appearance of confidence or your outward appearance of love or your outward appearance of sexy doesn't always match what's underneath the hood. And it's never, a lot of the times it's like you said, the old beater, if it's got a nice interior and a nice engine, the thing runs like a charm, right? Like
right.
It just
shouldn't write it off.
Right. But I think a lot of times kids are seeing that kind of relationship is it only matters what the outside of that looks like. I have to be sexy outwardly. I have to be confident outwardly. I have to be, I have to show love outwardly. Everything has to be pretty and nice. All the time.
If I had to sum what I think your point is don't judge a book by its cover.
It's even
don't
more,
judge a car by its exterior.
It's even more that I think I value sexy or things like sexy or confidence in more of your actions than I do. Okay. Like, so I felt like I have these conversations, and I see these conversations happening out and about. But going, hey, sexy isn't always what you look like. Sexy is sometimes what you act like, and you can pull off sexy, and and not have your hair done, or not have makeup on, or not have your nails done, or like whatever the trend or theme is that's going on. You can pull out confident by the way that you act. Like I'm 60-40, the 80-20 rule or something, right? Like you were like 60-40 on confidence. I'm like I'm much more into the 80-20 of the 80% is how you act. The 20% is kind of what it appears to be, like the superficial piece of it. So
yeah, and I think places like Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, especially Instagram, because it's all pictures. I don't know about TikTok because I'm not really on it, but likely the same, given it's a social media platform. Yeah. It just lends itself to being very. Here's a quick image. Here's something very quick. And you immediately get a reaction from it, and it's all visual, so you don't get any real subtext, or you don't get the under the hood look unless you take time, to go look deeper into it or explore that more. But so that lends itself, I think, to that sort of behavior, if you will, or if that sort of, hey, I'm Instagram famous because I'm an Instagram model. Right. And you were born genetically gifted, right? But that does not mean that I would want to be your friend.
Right.
Because
I don't spend any time with you at all.
If I started to spend time with you and you're doing all of the things that I find reprehensible, then I'm immediately going to be turned off and go, I'm going to back away slowly here. And you do you. And I hope you enjoy your life, but I'm just not that. I'm not that kind of person. Which I think we're right on the same page.
I think my PSA is if somebody who knows you says you're attractive, somebody who knows you in your core says that they love your confidence, or your confidence exudes, right? Whatever that is, or that they love you. Like those are the people you believe. Those are the people you should believe. Like if you go, I don't know if I don't feel sexy. If somebody tells you core knows you, you're sexy, right? Like to them,
just sexy, and it,
or attractive. I know. I just like the sexy word. Sorry. So that was my quick PSA. So there you go.
I love it, and So I said sort of don't judge a book by its cover.
I like that too.
But so that's how I kind of think of it. But I get what you're saying, even I guess to a greater degree.
I feel bad saying don't just look at the car on the outside. Just go test drive it when I'm talking about humans, because I feel like that lends itself to me getting in trouble when I get home. So, I'm like, no. But yeah. So, what do you think?
I think we've established some really good percentages.
Good.
I love to hear what other people think.
Yeah.
And if someone were to want to kind of weigh in a little bit or tell us what percentage they thought that we were sexy.
100%.
Shameless pandering.
Yeah.
Where would they tell us
they would
how attractive, confident, and sexy we are?
They would probably write us a review on our podcast page of some sort, whether that be Anchor, iTunes, or Spotify, or they could actually just hit us up on any of our socials, which is on Twitter at can_convo or at canconvo on Facebook and Instagram. Or you can Gmail, specifically Andrew, canconvo@gmail.com. Or I think we may have a YouTube page.
We do have a YouTube
and I
page.
think if you just search in YouTube for Can Conversations, you will find that said YouTube page. Yeah. So check it out.
We're going to start to put up some additional video. We played around with it several episodes ago with some teasers. We may try to play with various modes of video. So we'll see how it works out. And you don't have to tell us how sexy, confident, or attractive we are.
But you
do. We take all kinds of feedback, and we love to hear it. So, and we really appreciate everybody listening. So
absolutely.
If you're done, I've had good fun with the Blackberry Lemonade from Ole Smokey.
Yeah. It's been good.
All right.
I say thanks you.
Thanks you very much. See you later.